This is Concept E classes, and today we'll deal with Chapter 3 of Class 8 Social Science, Social and Political Life 3. Why do we need a parliament? So in Unit 1, we studied about the Indian Constitution and secularism, and we covered that unit in 2 chapters. Here also, Unit 2, Parliament and the Making of Laws, consist of 2 chapters. First we'll study about why do we need a parliament, and in the next chapter we'll study about the making of laws. So in this chapter, first we'll see why should people decide, and then people and how they elect their representatives to the parliament, then the role of a parliament, and who all are the people in parliament. So let's begin the chapter. We know that our India is a democratic country. The constitution has given the citizens the power to choose the government. Hence, there is a need for all the democratic governments to have the consent or approval of their citizens and their participation in decision making. Now, this consent of the citizens as well as their participation are the two elements that together make us a democracy, and this is best expressed in the institution of parliament. So in this chapter, we'll try to see how the parliament enables the citizens of India to participate in the decision making and control the government. Now, why should people choose a government, or why should people decide? Let's see. Now, India became independent on 15th August 1947, and we know that it was a long and difficult struggle in which many sections of the society participated. People from various backgrounds, they joined the struggle, and they were inspired by the ideas of freedom, equality, and the participation in decision-making process. Now, under the colonial rule, the British government did not agree with many decisions that the Indian citizens took. And even if the Indian citizens tried to criticize the decision, they would get severe punishment. But the freedom movement changed the situation. The nationalists began to openly criticize the British government and make demands. And in 1885, the Indian National Congress, this was an old pic of the Indian National Congress, they demanded that there must be elected members in the legislature with the right to discuss the budget and ask questions. And the Government of India Act 1909 allowed some of the elected representatives but did not allow all the adults or all the citizens to vote, nor could they participate in the decision making process. Now, the harsh experience of the colonial rule as well as the participation of different people in the struggle for freedom made the nationalists make sure that all the persons in independent India, they would be able to participate in the decision making process. And all these dreams and aspirations of the freedom struggle were made concrete in the Constitution of Independent India. And to fulfill that purpose, the Constitution laid down the principle of universal adult franchise. We have studied about this in the first chapter. Now, what is the principle of universal adult franchise? All the citizens above the age of 18, regardless of their wealth, income, gender, social status, race, or any other restriction, have the right to vote. Now, before 2004, the people used ballot papers for voting, and the EVMs, that is the electronic voting machine, they were used throughout the country for the first time in 2004 general elections. And the use of EVMs in 2004 saved around 1,50,000 trees, which would have been cut to produce about 8,000 tons of paper for printing the ballot papers. Now let's see the next topic, which is people and their representatives. So the takeoff point for democracy, or the base of a democracy, is the idea of consent, that is a desire, the approval and the participation of people. So as we said, it is a decision of the people that creates a democratic government and decides about its function. So basically, every individual or citizen is the most important person in a country. So in the last slide, we saw why the people should decide about the government. Now, how does the people give an approval to the government, or how do the people control or select the government? Through elections. That is, through the process of voting, people would elect the representatives to the parliament. Then one group from these representatives, they form the government. So the parliament, which is made up of all these elected representatives, together controls and guides the government. So in short, we can say that people, through their chosen representatives, control the government as well. So we saw how the people choose the government through elections, and through voting the people choose a set of representatives that together form the parliament. So now let's study about the role of these elected representatives, or the role of the parliament. Now, the Indian Parliament, created after 1947, is an expression of faith that the people of India have in the principles of democracy. So, the Parliament has immense powers because it is a representative of the people. The Parliament of India, Sansad, is the supreme law-making institution, and it has two houses, the Rajya Sabha, which is also called as the Council of States, and the Lok Sabha, which is a House of People. The Rajya Sabha consists of about 245 members, and it is presided over by the Vice President of India. Lok Sabha, it has about 545 members, and it is presided over by the Speaker. We'll study more about this in the following slides. Now, the elections to the Parliament are held in the same manner as they elect for the state legislation, that is, through the process of voting. Now, the country is divided into numerous constituencies. That is, a country is divided into many separate units or areas for the purpose of holding elections. And each area in which an election are held are called as constituency. And the people living in these constituencies, they elect one person to the parliament. So, in a country, we have about 543 constituencies. Therefore, we have a total seat of 543 to the parliament. Now, the candidates who contest these elections usually belong to different political parties, because each of these constituencies, they have different political parties. Hence, all these candidates, these 543 candidates, they come from different political parties. Now, once these candidates are elected, they become the members of the parliament, or MPs, and these MPs together make up the parliament. Now, the Lok Sabha, it's usually elected once every 5 years. So here is a table which shows the results of the 16 Lok Sabha elections held in May 2014. Through this table, we can understand that each of the elected member from the 543 constituencies come from different political parties, just like we studied now. See, about 543 members are elected, and they all come from different constituent parties, from BJP, from the Congress, from the Shiv Sena, etc. So once the elections to the parliament have taken place, the parliament needs to perform the following functions. First, the parliament should select the national government, should control, guide and inform the government, and finally the process of law making. Now let's discuss each of these points briefly. So the first function of a parliament is to select the national government. So let's see how. The Parliament of India consists of the President, the Rajya Sabha and the Lok Sabha. So first let's study about Lok Sabha. Now after the Lok Sabha elections, just as we saw in the last slide, through the process of elections, a list is prepared showing how many MPs belong to each political party. And for a political party to form the government, they must have a majority of elected MPs. That is, we know there are total of 545 seats in Lok Sabha. That is 543 elected plus 2 Anglo-Indian, which is nominated. And to have a majority, a party should have at least half the number, that is 272 members. Let's take the example of the results which we just now saw in the 16 Lok Sabha, May 2014. So here, which party have the majority MPs? The Bharatiya Janata Party, and it have more than 272 members. So who will form the government here? The BJP will form the government, and in 2014 the BJP was the government of India. Now, the opposition in the parliament is formed by all the political parties that oppose the majority party or the coalition party. And the largest among these parties is called as the opposition party. So let's refer the table that we studied before. Here, the Bharatiya Janata Party formed the government because it has the majority of members. Now, all those parties that oppose the BJP becomes the opposition in the parliament, and the party which have the second largest number of MPs. So here, which party has the second largest number? The Indian National Congress. So this party becomes the opposition party. Now, sometimes during elections, a single party may fail to get more than 272 seats in Lok Sabha. That is, to form a government, a party should have 272 or more seats. And sometimes during elections, a single party may fail to get so. So, in such a case, they join together with different political parties who are interested in similar concerns to form what is known as a coalition government. Okay, so in short, we can say that sometimes when a party failed to get more than 272 seats, they join together with different political parties having similar concerns, and that type of party is called as coalition party or coalition government. So let's understand more about this coalition government through this table. So this is the results of the 15th Lok Sabha elections which were held in May 2009. So here we can see that the Indian National Congress, they have a large number of seats, but they still fail to get 50% of seats in Lok Sabha, because to form a government they require 272 seats. So the Indian National Congress, they had to form a coalition, the United Progressive Alliance, with other political parties who were its allies. Now let's see the function of the Lok Sabha. One of the most important functions of the Lok Sabha is to select the executive. Now, who are the executives? They are a group of persons who work together to implement the laws made by the parliament. Now, the Prime Minister of India is a leader of the ruling party in the Lok Sabha. That is, we know that to form a government, a political party needs a majority seats, and the leader of that majority party becomes the Prime Minister of India. Then the Prime Minister, he selects the ministers from the members of that party which had the majority to work in different areas of government like the health, education, finance, etc. Now let's study about Rajya Sabha. Now the Rajya Sabha functions primarily as a representative of states of India in the parliament. So it is also called as the Council of States. Now the Rajya Sabha, it can also initiate a legislation, and a bill is required to pass through the Rajya Sabha in order to become a law. Now even if the Lok Sabha initiates some laws, the Rajya Sabha has an important role to review it, and if alterations are required, it could alter it as well. And a bill is required to pass through the Rajya Sabha in order to become a law. Now the members of the Rajya Sabha are elected by the legislative assemblies of various states, and there are 233 elected members plus 12 members which are nominated by the president for their contributions to art, to the science, to literature and social services as well. Now the second function of a parliament is to control, guide and inform the government. So let's see how the parliament does it. Now the first hour of every session of the parliament begins with a question hour. The question hour is an important mechanism through which the MPs can elicit or bring out all the information about the working of the government. So this is a very important way through which the parliament controls the executive. So by asking questions, the government is alerted to its shortcomings and also comes to know about the opinion of the people through the members of the parliament. The opposition party also plays a very important role in the healthy functioning of the democracy. How? They highlight all the drawbacks in various policies and programs of the ruling government, and they mobilize their popular support for their own policies as well. Now the government gets valuable feedback and is kept on toes by the questions asked by the MPs, because during this question hours the members may ask questions of different aspects of administration, and every minister whose turn it is to answer have to stand up and answer for his or her department's acts. So they are kept on toes by the questions asked by the other MPs. And apart from this, the government needs approval for the parliament to the matters dealing with finances. So this is one of the several ways in which the parliament controls, guides and informs the government. And the MPs, as the representatives of the people, they have a central role in controlling, guiding and informing the parliament. Now the next function of the parliament is lawmaking, and lawmaking is a very important function of the parliament. We'll discuss more about this in the next chapter. Now, who are the people in the parliament? Now, the parliament now have more and more people from different backgrounds. For example, the regional parties, they have MPs from rural areas. There has also been an increase in the political participation from the Dalits and the backward classes. Here this table, it shows the percentage of people who voted during the Lok Sabha elections. And from this table, we can understand that those communities who have been historically marginalized are given appropriate representation. So for that, some seats have been reserved in parliament for the SCs and STs so that they'll be familiar with the problems they face and they can represent the Dalit and Adivasi interest in the parliament. And recently it was suggested that there should be reservation of seats for women, and this issue is still being debated. 16 years ago, only 4% of MPs were women, and today it is about 11%. So sometimes there are issues in which certain unresolved questions are asked regarding the fact that our democracy is representative or enough. But the fact that we can ask these questions and the working towards these answers is a reflection of the strength and the faith that the people in India have in a democratic form of government. So that's all for chapter 3. Why do we need a parliament? The next session will be on making of laws. Tune in soon for the next session. Thank you so much. May God bless you all. Take care and bye-bye.